Well, it's been a year of great change for Canadian singer Ryland James. He came out as gay last year, which led to buzz, including a big one from Billboard for his latest single, I Give Everything, about falling in love for the first time. Ryland James joins us live now on CP24 Breakfast. Ryland, good morning to you. Happy Valentine's Day. So Ryland, you've been on quite the journey this past year, and that's really given you more ammunition to make your latest single. And I think it's so fitting that we're talking about it on Valentine's Day because your song, I Give Everything, really touches on the dichotomy of emotions we all feel when we think we found the one. I want to love you, but I don't want to lose you. Lose me, rather.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. When I wrote it, I was just like in the midst of these really intense emotions with my boyfriend who I'd just fallen in love with. And it really was just that feeling of, you know, being fully into this relationship and this thing, but then also resisting at the same time, being like, I don't want to lose who I am in all of this. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, like I learned so much and grew from it through the experience. But at the time, this is what I was feeling. And this is, what I wrote about.
Right, and is this song, I Give Everything, I guess, an extension or sequel to your song, Three Purple Hearts, which is, something you wrote about your boyfriend, Ryan?
100%, yeah. Three Purple Hearts was like the story itself of when we met. And then this one kind of was, the continuation of the relationship. Just as it was going on. And this was like the intensity kind of, I think Three Purple Hearts was a little more, I think both of them are vulnerable in their own way, but I think Three Purple Hearts was more the story itself and more about fear. And this one is like intensity.
Right. We all know that intensity. Ryan, going back to your 2020 EP, the album that you put out that year, the song Better Off, I was listening to it, really spoke to me. And I hear you say that it's the one that you feel very strongly connected to as well. You co-wrote this song during quite a dark and depressing time in your life. And the message in it is so clear. You have to love yourself before you can love anyone else.
Absolutely. Yeah. That song, I think I will always take with me forever as maybe one of the most important songs I've ever written. And I didn't even realize back then what it would become today for me and what it continues to become for people today. But it's really just about, I've got to stop trying to be something that I'm not for other people. I have to, I'm better off loving myself first and really taking that time to fill myself up with love first, that I can give that to the world and to other people. I think it's just a very important thing for all people to take with them, and especially me in my journey as, with what I've been on.
Right, absolutely. And Rylan, you grew up in a very small town, Toronto, Ontario, less than 2,000 people. You say that you were very quiet as a kid. You kind of felt like an outsider. So when you talk about self-love, is that the moment you kind of decided that you would come out as gay last year? And how has that really impacted your music and your life afterward?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in a very small town, so the situation I grew up in was one of I didn't see all the world views, the points of view that are in the world. I was in a very kind of small, limited view of what I thought was okay and what I thought was normal. And so for me, that was not a thing that I should have been. That wasn't something that was allowed. That wasn't a good thing to be. But yeah, over time, I kind of couldn't resist the feelings I was having anymore. And then meeting Ryan at the beginning of the pandemic sort of just opened up this whole other side of me. I fell in love and I was like, okay, this is undeniable. I can't resist this anymore. And so, yeah, I came out to the world and it's just changed everything. It's just made me a free person. I think I used to hold a lot of resistance and anxieties about how people saw me and the way that I carried myself in the world. And now I don't care as much anymore. I just I'm like, this is who I am and you can take it or leave it kind of thing. And it feels really good to just sit, in myself and feel like myself for the first time in my life. So of course that's coming through my art as well. Just being able to talk about real things for the first time is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. They say that there are two things guaranteed in life, death and taxes. But I think as your album shows, love and betrayal are also some things that are permanent and constant in this lifetime. And not just like love and betrayal from other people, but for yourself as well. Ryland James, such a pleasure chatting with you. Good luck and looking forward to hearing more music from you in the future. Take care.
Thanks for having me.
Of Canada's best comedians will be trapped in this room together with one common goal: try and make each other laugh.
I'm ready to compete.
This is an epic battle.
Oh man, I'm laughing. But if they laugh themselves.
Well, the comedy hit buzzing around the world is landing in Canada as Last One Laughing, hosted by Jay Baruchel, begins streaming this Friday on Amazon Prime. We're welcoming Jay to CP24 Breakfast this morning. Hey, Jay, great to see you here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So I've watched a few of the sort of previews of the show. It looks pretty hilarious. Got some well-known comedic talent all jammed in one room together. Were you fortunate that you didn't have to sort of not laugh at this, because it looked like things got pretty out of control pretty quickly?
No, if I actually had to compete on the bloody thing, I'd have been the first one out. So I had by far the easiest job. I kind of just had to, sit there and enjoy the show and, throw in the odd chirp. So it was one of the best gigs I've ever had.
So for people who aren't familiar with the program and the fact that it's kind of a global sensation, Jay, explain the game and explain the format. What exactly happens?
So we put a bunch of funny people in a spot together in a house, and there's basically 6 hours. And all they've got to do is try to make each other laugh and keep a straight face. And if you smile, you get a penalty. If you laugh, typically out. And last one laughing, the last one, person who keeps a straight face the longest, wins a bunch of money for the charity of their choice. So so it's a blast. And I believe it started in Japan, and they've done it in Australia and Mexico and all sorts of places. And so really excited to be bringing it up here.
So, Jay, do comedians have a sort of competitive advantage in this, in that you're all playing on the same level playing field, and the fact that, is it harder to make a comedian laugh than the average person, or is it almost easier because they're kind of sitting on a feather in that house there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good question. I think it actually depends on the comedian. I think some have developed a sort of callous poker face over the years, but I also think there's a bunch of people who sort of do this because they like laughing. That's why they've gotten into this gig. So I think what you'll see in the show is a bit of both things that you're describing.
Are there any rules specifically? I mean, like, I'm assuming you can't sort of tickle someone to make them laugh. You're trying to make them laugh using a joke or humor. Are there rules, or is this basically a free-for-all?
Yeah, you can't really tickle, and but by the way, as an aside, I don't know that I'd want to watch that show, just tickling each other in a house for 6 hours. Like
that's a different program.
I'm with a different host, let me tell you. No, but so I don't think you can do that, and you can't sort of cover your face. That's kind of cheap. But aside from that, you kind of can do and say whatever you want. And this incredible set that they built, the house they put everybody in, was just absolutely filled with ridiculous props. And in addition to a bunch of delicious food. People basically had a whole bunch of weapons at their disposal.
Okay, Jay, before I let you go, fellow Habs fan talking to you now, how are you feeling this year?
Well, the answer to that question, it's at least the garbage fire is starting to be put out. Some brave people have started to finally put out the fire at the dump. It's been quite a ride. Considering last summer, I was at the Stanley Cup in Montreal with my wife. To really teed up this year in a hilarious way. I'll put it that way.
No kidding. All right. Well, not a lot of laughter necessarily in Montreal, but certainly a lot of laughs on your new show. Jay, thanks for joining us on CP24 Breakfast. Great to chat with you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
Sitting here looking at this $10 bill, thinking World War I, grandmama say still, cause for there was Rosa, we at Paola, A black female entrepreneur from Scotia.
Dwayne Dio Gibson is a Canadian hip-hop artist, author, motivational speaker, and even holds the Guinness World Record for longest freestyle rap. Gibson's celebrating the 20th anniversary of Black Canadian 365 Stay Driven. It's a motivational school tour where he educates students about Black history with his own creative spin. And Dwayne Dio Gibson joins us now live here on CP24 Breakfast. Welcome, Dwayne. Thanks for being here this morning. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, yeah, doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so listen, 20 years you've been doing this, you've been going to school. Of course, the last 2 years, things have been significantly different. But how has your program and your message changed over 20 years? How have you kind of evolved it?
I think when I started, it was a lot about talking about goal setting, things of, if you want to achieve your dreams. And that's still the essence of my presentation. But learning from what schools wanted to hear, and specifically at the beginning was anti-bullying, and reflecting on my upbringing and realizing I could connect with that message. And then for the last few years, Black history has really taken off. And it's so special for me to be able to talk about that because I'm not from Toronto. So as you probably know, when you live in Toronto, people always ask where you're from. Mm-hmm. And I would say, I'm from Sarnia, I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, I'm from Stratford, because these are the places I grew up at. But I'm also a fifth generation Black Canadian. So when I realized that story was kind of different from other stories I was hearing, I realized that it could really connect. And that's the story that I share with youth.
And, Dwayne, the conversation about Black history, whether it's February or otherwise, it's a conversation that needs to be had because the reality is, and we've talked with several other guests, just in the last several weeks about this, Canadians don't really understand or know the real Black history of Canada, do they? So educational forums and programs like yours are crucial and key.
I think it's really important to learn about Black history every day. That's why I call it Black Canadian 365. Mm-hmm. Gotta get it in there for a second, right? But slavery existed in Canada. Conditions were so bad here that Black people wanted to go back to Africa at a point. You look at the history of Africville in Nova Scotia, a community that was bulldozed and people relocated from their homes. So I love Canada. I'm proud to be here. I'm a proud Canadian. I think we've come a long way, but I think it's also important to recognize that we have this challenging history with Black people and, of course, with Indigenous.
Let's talk about some challenges for yourself as a performer, a presenter. Dwayne, the last couple of years, the pandemic has limited your ability to perform in person, and I watch some of the reactions you get from those auditoriums full of kids. You get them involved, you get them motivated. I think the learning connection is much better. How have you sort of managed through this pandemic, doing these things through Zoom, kind of like you and I are chatting right now?
At first, I never thought it was going to work, but it's been amazing to connect with so many youth from across the country. Last week, I did a program, Change the World conference for over 100,000 students. And this is from Nova Scotia and Cape Breton to Vancouver Island up to Northwest Territories. We had schools from Yellowknife tuning in. So I think it's great that I'm able to connect with people all over. But at the same time, of course, I just miss being in the school. Mm-hmm. And I know that for kids, it's really challenging to be there all the time and not have these assemblies. Because let's face it, like when you have an assembly at school, like teachers get a chance to relax for a little bit. They can chill out. And of course, kids just like making that walk down to the gym. So I'm going out to BC in April. I'm doing 2 weeks of in-person there. And I think we're making some moves to bring it back, but I can't wait to be back in schools.
Yeah, it seems like the restrictions are slowly starting to ease, so perhaps you'll be back in front of some students pretty soon. Listen, Dwayne, thanks for joining us here on CP24 Breakfast. Again, appreciate this, and good luck with what you're doing.
Thank you. I got to jump into a couple virtual shows now, but thank you for having me.
Good luck with those today.
Peace.
Cheers, yeah.
Since 1994, the Breakfast Club of Canada's mission, simple: give kids across Canada access to a healthy breakfast every day. And here with more is Managing Director of BCC, Tommy Kulchik. Tommy, thanks so much for joining us here on CP24 Breakfast. See how
Thank you for having me.
Tied those together? Tommy, let's get right into it. I want to get a bit of the backstory of Breakfast Club of Canada and how you came to lead this Thought for Food program.
Well, since 1984, Breakfast Club of Canada has been working with partners in all sectors to help children access an healthy breakfast each morning. The club's vision is a country where all children can access the nourishment they need to succeed, that every child should have an equal chance to develop their full potential. Mm-hmm. Today, we're able to reach over 500,000 children and over 3,000 programs in schools and community setting across the country each day. I got involved 27 years ago, originally, I was with another organization, and the founder was starting Breakfast Club of Canada, and I used to contribute and donate food to complete what they were offering students every morning in the first school that was open with the Breakfast Club of Canada. And I kept contact with them, and 3 years ago, the board of director approached me, and it was an honor to contribute to the well-being of children across the country.
You know, it sounds cliche to say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but it is, right? And I want to know, how does the program work? How do you identify, Tommy, and then service the schools and communities where the need is the greatest?
Well, we always try to start with the schools that are located in the poorest community, poorest area. But it's growing, you know, we're talking about the pandemic, obviously, the effect. But what's important to say is that the club provides much more than breakfast. Our approach is based on commitment, on self-esteem, and capacity development using an optimal formula adapted to local needs. And the impact is to create a caring and inclusive school community, to improve learning capacities, improving, obviously, to alleviate hunger-related stress, and to boost attendance and punctuality. So it's a lot more, but it's always based on the urgency, but there's so much need. Before the effect of the pandemic, we were talking close to a million child in the country that were at risk to start their school day on an empty stomach. And now we're talking more close to 2 million. And right now, the most important thing is to be and continue to be present every morning for those children, and to cater to the excess demand. There's been an increase because of the pandemic within the existing program, sometime up to 50%.
I'm so glad you underscored that part of it, Tommy, because obviously, you know, getting the kids' bellies full is priority, but it's so much more than just, you know, physical nutrition, right? It's nutrition for the mind and the spirit. And, you know, sharing a meal and sharing your feelings, breaking bread helps to break the ice, and just kids being able to enjoy a meal with other kids too, to, you know, maintain that in-person social contact, you know, dropping the phone to grab the fork. That's a good thing too, right?
Definitely. And, you know, the people who are involved, volunteers, teachers, etc. And first of all, we could not have so much success throughout the years with amazing partners from the corporate sector, schools, volunteers, individuals that are involved. But the bond that is created, you said it, within the program in the schools, and the fact that the children have some time to exchange and meet for a longer period of time with their colleagues every morning, and create that bond and share maybe some of the problems that they have, and have access to different solutions. And that's why we're launching a nationwide awareness campaign to help educate the public about the cause and ways that they can make a difference.
Well, Tommy, last thing, real quick, how do people, you know, reach out to find out more about funding your program and also maybe volunteering some time?
Well, we want them to visit our website at breakfastclubcanada.org to visit and understand and learn more about the organization. If they can make a difference, they can donate on site, or just text the word club, CLUB, to the number 20222, and they'll be able to make a donation. And if there's a time that we have to be present in children's life, it's now.
Tommy Kulchik, beautifully said at the end there. The director, or the managing general manager, rather, of Breakfast Club of Canada. Thank you so much for giving us some time, and enjoy your breakfast and all you do for the kids out there, Tommy. Thanks.
Thank you for your help and your support.
All right, we're heading into the final couple of days of competition at the Winter Olympics, and so far Canada has 24 medals in Beijing. That is 5 off the total from the last Winter Games. And for the third consecutive Olympics, snowboarder Mark McMorris has claimed a bronze medal in his event. We're pleased to welcome him now to CP24 Breakfast. Mark, thanks for joining us this morning. Great to see you back here. Before I get to your own performance, 4 more medals for Canada last night. I'm not sure if you are still twisted on the time change or were able to watch it, but what's it like as an athlete watching your fellow Canadian athletes doing so well at the Games too?
Totally. Waking up this morning and seeing all those results, friends getting medals, and as someone that has been there, it is one of the best feelings ever, and I can only imagine the joy and stoke they have right now, and I'm sure they're looking forward to getting home too, and yeah, thanks.
Is the medal you won this time around, Mark, is it sweeter based on the recovery that you had to go through after that devastating injury that you suffered, that here you are, bronze medal again?
yeah, I think just anytime you can go to the Olympics, get hardware, and it's never been an easy journey for me. 2014 ribs, huge accident leading up to the 2018 games, and then obviously some more surgeries to deal with the repercussions of that big accident. And then going to this Olympics with the COVID thing, it's never been an easy thing. So anytime I ride to the best of my ability and grab a medal, it is always a mission, and a war has been won in a sense. I feel very honored and happy to bring another one home for Canada.
Do you have the medal there? I saw you looking down. Can you show it to us?
Yeah, I got all three.
You got all of them. Wow. They make a nice noise. What do you do with the medals, Mark? You know, you're back from the games now. You already had 2 from previous games. Where do you put them? What do you do with them?
Honestly, they stay at my folks' place in Saskatchewan. They like to have them, and I think they're much more responsible with them than I would be. And they kind of hang out in a shrine at the local ski hill in Saskatchewan all winter for all the kids and folks to come look at them.
Well, that's so cool. I mean, you're an inspiration, right? I mean, you know, Max Perot, like what you guys are doing on the hills, it is pretty remarkable. Can you sort of look back at your Olympic experience? And now you've been to 3 different games, and you highlighted it just now. You know, you participated in Olympic Games during a pandemic. You know, you were inside that closed loop. How different was this experience from your previous Olympics?
Definitely different. Friends, family, everyone's watching from back home. So that is a totally different thing, and it's very bubbled. You know, like you get into a bus inside a fenced area, and you only go to another fenced area. So you are we were like joking around. It was an epic time. Everyone was so gracious, but we were calling it sports prison, but just a joking matter. It was super fun, but yeah, bubbled, as you could imagine. You know, they're not messing around over there with the vid.
Yeah, sports prison. Before I let you go, Mark, I just have to ask, you know, you participate in a judge sport, and judge sports are always open to a little bit of debate. You know, you talked about throwing down the run of the day when you got the gold instead, or pardon me, the bronze instead of the gold. You kind of felt like you deserved the bronze. Can you talk a little bit more about your perspective on that now that you're back here and that the event is, you know, so many days in the past now?
Yeah, just obviously in a judge sport, all you can really do is ride to the best of your ability, and then it is out of your hands. And sometimes you end up on top, sometimes you end up in second, third, whatever it may be. It's really out of your hands. I've been on both sides of that. Maybe should have won, not won, shouldn't have won. It just happens. I'm so pleased with how I rode, and that's all you can really do as a pro snowboarder is ride to the best of your ability and be proud of that. And yeah, after the dust has settled, I am just extremely thankful to have my health, be back in Canada, and have a 3rd medal.
Mark, we're really happy you came and joined us, and we're really proud of what your accomplishments are. Of course, thanks so much for joining us on CP24 Breakfast.
Appreciate you.
Take care.